Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Sofitel in Brisbane. My name's Tim Morton. I'm the Group Director of Arenas for AEG Ogden. We manage venues throughout Australia, and one of them is the Brisbane Entertainment Centre, and we're absolutely thrilled to be able to host UFC for the first time in Brisbane on December 7. The company that I work for has had the honour of hosting UFC 3 times in 2010, 11 and 12 at what is now called Allphones Arena and was called Acer Arena when UFC came through. And 50,000 plus people in Sydney attended those 3 events. We're expecting a similar response in Brisbane. We think the building will be full, and we expect tickets to sell very fast for what's going to be an explosive event. UFC has become one of the fastest growing sports in the world, and I'm very pleased to be able to introduce the Director of UFC Operations for Canada, Australia and New Zealand, who'll tell you a bit more about it, Tom Wright.
Thanks very much, Tim, and it is absolutely my pleasure to be here in Brisbane to introduce the Ultimate Fighting Championship and to be able to welcome not only the media here today, but 2 of our great athletes, and tell you just how excited we are to be able to bring the UFC to Brisbane for the first time, to Queensland's capital, for a UFC Fight Night. And it's going to be Mark Hunt versus Antonio Bigfoot Silva on December the 7th, 2013. This has been an exciting year for the UFC. We've held over 30 events in 25 different cities in 7 different countries, and this will be our first time that we've ever been to, as I said earlier, Queensland's capital of Brisbane. It'll be the 2nd time we've been to Queensland. We were at the Gold Coast this time last year, and as Tim was mentioning earlier, this will be our 5th visit to the great country of Australia. And we've always wanted to, one of our goals is to make sure that we bring our fighters, we bring our sport and our brand and our athletes to as many communities across Australia as possible. So we couldn't be happier that we have a chance to bring the UFC to Brisbane, to the River City, for a great event on December the 7th, 2013. We also have the opportunity to bring as many great of our other great fighters. We haven't finalized that card yet. I'm joined on the podium this morning by not only Mark Hunt, but Anthony Perosh, who is one of our veteran UFC light heavyweight champions from Sydney. I know Anthony very much would like to be on this card, but we'll have to leave that up to Dana White and Joe Silva to make those decisions. But I can tell you I'm lobbying to have Anthony on the card as well. Tickets will go on sale for UFC Fight Night, Hunt versus Bigfoot, on Thursday, October the 10th. You'll be able to find those tickets on www.ticketek.com.au. And I'll give you some other information on tickets later. We haven't set the prices yet, but we will in the coming weeks. And the rest of the card will be announced in the coming weeks as well. So without any further ado, I want to introduce the gentleman on our podium, joining me on the podium today, but also speak a bit about our main event, which we couldn't be more excited about. On my right is the Super Samoan, Mark Hunt. He's born and raised he's a Kiwi by birth, but he's adopted Australian, fighting out of Sydney. He's 4-2 in the UFC. He's won 4 of his last 5 fights, 3 of them by knockout. He's a former K1 Grand Prix champion. Of his last 5 bouts, he's won 3 of them, as I said, by knockout. I was here in Australia in May of this year for a viewing party. We head down in Melbourne to watch UFC 160 when Mark was fighting against Junior Dos Santos. And I can tell you it was a great fight. Mark won Fight of the Night for his performance in UFC 160. He lost a technical knockout in the 3rd round, but I can tell you what happened. It was remarkable. If you happen to be in Melbourne, I can tell you throughout Australia, Mark may have been born in New Zealand, but he's been adopted by Australia. The crowd was all pro Mark Hunt, and it was great to watch. We couldn't be more excited about having somebody who's so important to this market headline this event. It's going to be a 5-rounder, but he's got a tough competitor. He knows Bigfoot Antonio Silva very well. They've been training partners, and Antonio is no slouch himself. Very recently, in July, he was fighting for the heavyweight championship against Cain Velasquez. He lost that, but he's been a professional since 2005. He holds a career record of 18-5, and of his wins, 13 have been by knockout, 3 by submissions. He's originally from Brasilia, Brazil. He's now fighting out of Deerfield Beach, Florida. It's going to be a great fight. We're really, really excited, and any time the heavyweights get together, it's always going to be a great show. And for us to be able to bring such a terrific main event to the Brisbane Entertainment Centre in this coming December, we couldn't be more thrilled. I've had the chance to visit the great people up at the BEC. It's my second visit to Brisbane. Very excited about having a chance to bring the UFC to Queensland again for the second time, and couldn't be more happy to have the opportunity to bring as I said earlier, our athletes, our sport, and our brand to this part of the great country of Australia. And before I open up the questions to the media, I just want to also say a couple of words about Anthony Perosh on my left. Anthony is fighting out of Sydney. He's been a great ambassador for the sport of mixed martial arts in your country of Australia. I had the privilege of working with Anthony back earlier this year when he and I traveled in Sydney and Melbourne and to Perth on behalf of trying to bring our sport and our athletes to as many parts of this country as possible. He holds a 14-7 record in mixed martial arts. 4 of his last 5 fights have been wins. He's just coming off a 14-second victory in Rio in August over Vinny, how do you pronounce his last name?
Magalhaes.
Vinny Magalhaes. But it was great because both Vinny and Anthony are Brazilian black belt jiu-jitsu holders. Everybody was expecting a long fight, a very technical fight, and it really helps when you've got a strong right hand, and in 14 seconds, Anthony was successful in winning that fight and coming back to here on a bit of a streak. So we're excited to have Anthony here. We're excited to have Mark here as well. We couldn't be more happy to be coming back to Queensland, just a little further north in the Gold Coast, to coming to Brisbane again, as I said, on December the 7th, which is a Saturday. So before I open up the questions, I've got to the media here. I want to ask Mark Hunt a question. And Mark, this is going to be the first time you've headlined a UFC event, the first time that on paper at least you will be going for a 5-round fight. How does that feel?
It feels good. No. No, it feels great actually. To be headlining the UFC card, it's an honour for me, and it's a combination of all my hard work over the years, and it's the fastest growing sport in the world and the biggest company in the world of mixed martial arts. So it's an honour for me to do it. So it's great.
Awesome. And a quick question for Anthony. Anthony, you've been as much of an ambassador for the sport of mixed martial arts as anyone, not only here in Australia, but the work that you have done has been exemplary around the world. Can you give us a sense of how important it is to help bring the sport of mixed martial arts to as many different communities across Australia?
Just from a MMA fan perspective, I see the amount of fighters coming out of Canada and Brazil and America, and they have huge teams of 20, 30 fighters already fighting in the UFC, and I want that in Australia, and New Zealand, and I want 10, 15, 20 fighters from Australia in the UFC, 10, 15 from New Zealand, and the only way we're going to do it is get into every city and so that fighters have a chance to get there. Great.
So, to the media, I will open up the questions to Mark or to Anthony or to myself. As Dana White would say, who's got the first question?
Tom, can you announce any of the other fights at all that will be on the card, or is that quite a while away from being formalised?
It's not quite a ways away, but none of the other fights have been officially announced. The only one that's official now is the Hunt versus BIGFOOT. I always will push Joe Silva, who's our matchmaker, and Sean Shelby, who matchmakes for the lower weight classes, and Dana to have as many local fighters on the card as possible. I've spoken about wanting to have Anthony Perosh on the card. There's some great Australian athlete and Kiwi-born but living in Australia athletes that I'd love to see on the card. But we're probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to see this card fill up. And before we go on sale on Thursday, October the 10th, you'll have lots of fighters to get excited about.
Hi, I'm Adam from MA Canvas at 9MSN. My first question that I've got is just for you, Tom. Do you have an update on the cage ban in Melbourne? I know you've been campaigning for a while, and the UFC really wants to get in there. So do you have an update on that?
Well, the quick update on trying to reverse the ban on the octagon in not only Victoria but in WA is that we're continuing the good fight. We're a patient group. We feel it's a matter of when, not if. I've had and continue to have discussions with the government. As you know, the leadership in Victoria changed from Baillieu to Napthine. We've been continuing to work with Hugh Delahunty and other members of the government. We feel very strongly that and we will not change our stance, that we will not take an event into a jurisdiction where the octagon is not permitted. Allowing our athletes to compete in a boxing ring is unsafe, it is unfair, and we will never compromise the safety of our athletes, regardless of what it means in terms of building our business. We brought forward our case that an event in Victoria would be a significant economic benefit to the entire state as well as the city of Melbourne. We would like to take our first event to Etihad. We feel it'll have economic impact between $40 and $50 million, but the government needs to change its position, and hopefully that'll happen soon. There's an election, as you probably know, a fixed date election in November of 2014. Hopefully we'll be able to have some success before then, but we'll continue to work on it. Every time I come to Australia, this is my 4th trip in 9 months, I spend time in Melbourne and try to push that forward, but we'll get it done.
And just a question for Mark, just over here, Mark. My first question is, I think last time you fought in Australia was on the preliminary card, and now you're headlining an event. I just want to get your thoughts on, do you think this will be different? There'll be a lot of media hype, I'd imagine, behind you in the lead up to this event. Do you think it'll be much different for you?
Well, yeah, you're right. I don't know, maybe, but it's, like I said, it was a great honour for me to fight the main event billing instead of the preliminaries like before. So it's a good change for me.
And my next
I don't
question,
know about that the media thing. It might happen. So
my next question is just on your opponent, BIGFOOT Antonio Silva. We spoke, I think, earlier in the year, and you mentioned that you'd probably only fight him if it was a title shot. 'Cause I know that you fought each other in the past. So I just wanted to know, have you spoken to him about this? I don't know how this sort of thing works, and just get your thoughts on him.
yeah, well, me and BIGFOOT are with ATT as an affiliation, but it's one of those things. It's an opportunity. I mean, he's a top 4 fighter. Yeah, I don't think I'm in the top 10 at all. So it's a good opportunity for me. And at the end of the day, this is a sport, and we both want to be the best fighters on the planet. And it's just another step forward for me. So it's one of those things, it's a job. And to be the best fighter, you've got to fight sometimes people that I was hoping I wouldn't be able to fight BIGFOOT if I actually get to the world title, but it is what it is. So, yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Mark. And just a quick question for you, Anthony. I know you're not officially on this card and don't have an opponent just yet. Obviously, you probably want to be on this card. Is there anyone specifically you would like to fight should you have the opportunity to choose an opponent?
Look, I won't call anyone out today, but look, I just want to I'd love to fight someone ranked higher than me. Like, I'm probably, I'm not in the top 10 either, but I'd love a top 10 fighter. Don't get me wrong. I've won 4 in my last 5. If I get one, great. If not, then hopefully it's just someone coming off a couple of wins and gives me the chance to move up the ranks.
Ryan Bader lost on the weekend.
He did. He could be. Could be a match there.
Okay.
I don't want to. Yeah, we'll see. I'd love to fight because I made my debut, my MMA debut, like end of November 2003. So this will be like my 10-year anniversary. Like I'm a pro fighter and love to fight it in December. And I did it in Queensland. So my first match was in Queensland 10 years ago.
Wow. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Hi, just a question for Anthony. In your previous fight with Vinny, he said that if he wasn't able to beat you, he should be cut from the UFC, and that's exactly what happened. How do you feel about that?
Look, you know, some fighters do a lot of trash talking. I'm kind of not one of them. I kind of let it all slide. But I think, you know, when he said that remark a few days before the fight, I let my guard down, and I called him a douchebag. But that's all bad. That's as bad as far as I went with my trash talking. But look, it is what it is, and after the fight, he could have easily painted a different picture if he was more. If he wanted to say, oh look, I still want to be in the UFC, I want to fight, blah blah blah, he probably would still be here. But he said, I don't care, and now he's gone.
And just a question for Mark. Mark, if you do win against BIGFOOT Silva, where do you think that places you in the heavyweight division?
Well, it doesn't really matter for me where it plays in the division. Of course, I feel I'm the best fighter in the world. And you'll probably laugh about that, but that's the way I feel. And for me, it doesn't matter where it places me. It'll be, if Bigfoot's number 4 and I beat him, so let's put me somewhere above him. But yeah, doesn't matter.
I've got a question for both fighters. I don't know if you've read recently, a couple of retired NRL players are looking at getting into MMA. Matt Cooper and Otamanata, who's still playing, but he's looking at getting in as well. Do you have an opinion on how they'll go in their debuts? Can they make careers out of it?
You want to go first?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, man, I think they'll go great. They're athletes. I've had an opportunity to train a little bit with Tamana, and he's a good person. He's a strong athlete, so he'll do well. He's got the mindset of an athlete, so it's all hard work, so they'll do well.
You look, as long as my own advice is as long as they don't rush into it, because they know what it takes to be a pro athlete at the top level. So they have to think, okay, what did I have to do to get into playing rugby league at the highest level? So they need to do that for MMA as well. So as long as they find a good coach and have a good program and cover all bases, striking, wrestling and jiu-jitsu. And don't go for the glory straight away. You've got to have tune-up matches. You can't fight the best in Australia in your first match. You've got to have someone coming off doing their first match. That's what I have a team of 12 fighters that I look after. And when they have their first or second match, I make sure they're matched up with someone first or second match. So as long as they don't rush into it, find a good coach, I think they'll be great.
And just one more question for Mark. You had some serious infections following your last fight. How are you feeling after that?
Yeah, let me show you, man. It was a bit sorry, you can see it. I don't think it was staph, but I got it. The fight actually. I got that. It was actually just a bruise, a hematoma after the fight, and because I don't normally drink that much, I had a bit of tequila on the plane, and I think that's what brought it out of my blood. It wasn't actually. It was actually a bruise, and then I got cold sweat. I got really sick, but I don't know if it was. I don't think it was staph, because the only hospital I went to was the Vegas one. So if it was staph, it would be from that hospital. But I was only there 20 minutes, so. But it's healed now, so I've got to get back to some hard work. So I'm looking forward to it.
Mark, just back on Tamata, and just boxing has obviously garnered quite a lot of headlines, a lot of mainstream press through guys like Sonny Bill Williams crossing over. Is that something you'd like to see more athletes who are more well known in Australia crossing over and doing some MMA? Do you think that could help the sport along, give it a bit of publicity?
Well, I mean, the fight game is we don't play games here, people do get hurt properly here, so it depends on the person that's coming over, but boxing is totally different from mixed martial arts, I feel, so there's a lot more branches to it, and you'll learn a lot more things to it, so I mean, I don't know, man. I lost the question somewhere.
Any more questions for anybody, for myself or for our two fighters? Okay, so once again, thank you very much, everyone, for coming. There's going to be an opportunity for us to be available for one-on-ones with anybody who's here today. Before I finish, I just want to remind everybody on the ticketing information. Our tickets will go on sale to the general public on Thursday, October the 10th. You can visit the BEC website or on www.tickettech.com.au. We will open up our tickets on Tuesday to the UFC Fight Club. That will be Tuesday, October the 8th, and we'll have a special newsletter opportunity for our fans to buy tickets on Wednesday, October the 9th. And as I said earlier, tickets pricing will be announced in the coming weeks, and before we go on sale, Thursday, October the 10th, most of the fight card will be finalized, and you'll just see how exciting a roster of athletes we'll be bringing to the BEC on December the 7th. It's going to be a great event. So we're going to have some pictures taken, and then we're going to have the fighters do a little bit of an open workout, and then everyone will be available for one-on-ones. So on behalf of the UFC, on behalf of Mark Hunt and Anthony Perosh, I want to thank everybody for coming again, and look forward to coming to the Queensland's capital in December. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks very much. Thanks, mate. Good job.